Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You're sideways like this. There you are.
This was good, right?
Perfect. I'm in suburban Chicago and we had a tornado warning. I think we just
You
missed it.
did?
Yeah, so
Oh
like I
no.
kept bringing out more lights because it kept getting darker. I'm like, I can't like be this close. I'm like, who
Oh
cares?
wow.
I
Well, I hope nothing happens. That's
think it's on its
crazy.
way to Wisconsin, so we're good.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Okay, so it's passing through. Got
yeah,
it.
missed us. So do you have water or coffee?
I
I
have
saw you.
water.
Okay. I
My
got water and
Hello
coffee.
Gorgeous cup.
Oh, nice. Well, it's afternoon coffee time here. You're still at lunch there, uh, in California. So, actor, director, writer, producer, and I'm sure there are other things like publicist, right?
I mean,
For
I don't do it, but I just like marketing in general.
for your own work, right?
Well, I guess for your own, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
people tell me all the time that I'm really good at it, but I like it a lot, but it would take a lot of my time to do it for somebody else. But for me, it feels natural because I've been doing it ever since social media, became a thing.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, let's start out by talk about what you're working on now, meaning
Hmm.
things that you're finishing up or things that you're just starting. And we can go into depth on some of your projects and some of the other ones individually, but what do you have on your plate now?
Well, I just booked another feature film that I'm starting. Well, I'm starting it now. They're doing the pre-production and we're filming in 2 weeks, and it's going to be in Minnesota, so it's going to be out of state. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And it was really interesting because I'm actually going to be traveling to North Carolina to visit my family. And so it'll be like I'm in LA, going to North Carolina for like a couple of days, then going to Minnesota for 3 days, and then back to North
Yeah.
Carolina. So, but it's like that perfect storm kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because sometimes, things are not happening, and then all of a sudden everything happens at once. And that's how last week kind of felt. Like last week felt like a whole year. I had three interviews with directors about roles in feature films, and two of them were leads and this one supporting. And I booked this one, and it just felt like so amazing. And just interviewing with directors felt so natural. And I don't know if it's because I just came from Cannes and I just was used to talking to people all the time.
Yeah.
Because when you're in LA, like surprisingly, you don't talk to people all the time unless you're maybe on set or some kind of networking event. But I feel like I'm either working or I'm auditioning, so I'm not with people like all the time. So it it was interesting. I'm very excited about that project. I'm not gonna say too much about it yet because I don't know. Like, I mean, I signed an NDA and everything, so once it starts shooting, but I'm really excited. The script is really amazing. It's set in the 1964, 65. It's a period piece.
Very cool.
So yeah, I'm really excited about that one. And the feature that we had in Cannes, that was The Remedy, which is a horror film we shot back in December. And so it's a quick turnaround, but they
Yeah.
showcased it in Cannes, and then now they're figuring out where they want to premiere it, and they're seeking distribution. But it had really good feedback. We had a sold out crowd, which usually when you're at the market there, you don't have a full crowd, a sold out crowd, and people like out the door trying to get in. So that was really fascinating being a part of that because this was my first time doing something like that and being a part of so much can. And then, like you said, I also directed, produce, and write. And
Yeah.
I have a film that we started back in 2023, and it's called Once the Blue Moon, and it's my own thing. So I
Yes.
I did everything, I could to make it happen. And that one, we're still in post-production, but we're getting close to finishing up the edit and moving into like audio post and hopefully submitting it into
Yeah.
festivals again. So
Awesome.
that's what I have on
Well,
the
you're
plate.
busy.
I try. But it helps when you're doing, not just one thing, but like you're doing many different things. So,
Yeah, I get that. I was a newspaper reporter, daily
uh,
newspaper reporter years ago, and same thing, kind of like just as you would see in a movie, from probably a period movie at this point. Um, you walk in a newsroom, and it's madness and chaos, and phones and
hmm
all that. And it was great. Like if you understood how to thrive in the middle of 40 different things, then you were able to succeed. And I love that. And same thing with what you're doing, not in a newsroom, but you're
hmm
juggling projects and you're able to go from here to there and yeah, and it pushes your career along a lot faster. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
helps you work on different types of
hmm
projects. Like, have you ever done a period piece from that era?
I've been on sets for it, but I don't think I've done one in a supporting role, which will be pretty exciting because
Yeah.
I love the 60s. I love the hair and the makeup. This one is kind of set on a farm, so it's toned down, but my character is more of a like a gossipy
The hippie?
person. No, more like a gossipy, like she was a cheerleader.
Yeah.
So like she'll be a little more dressed up maybe than some other characters. But but yeah, it's such a cool era. And so much changed during that time. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what this film's about. So
Yeah, that'll be fun.
excited. Yeah.
Congratulations. I saw you announce that
Thank
yesterday on
you.
social media or
Thank
2 days
you.
ago.
I
Yeah.
did. Thank you.
Yeah. What was the name of the film that you were seeking distribution at Cannes? What was the name of that one?
It's called The Remedy.
The Remedy. Yeah, that's right. Can you talk about that film since we just mentioned it? We
Yeah.
might as well start there.
I can say some things. I'm not
Yeah,
allowed to say some
whatever
other
you
things.
can. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that one was really special to me because my friend Alexa, she brought me on. We worked together. We acted in another film called Memory Scanner like 3 or 4 years ago. We just met on that. And we really bonded right away. And sometimes, like you meet the people and you just feel like that's your person. And then we didn't see each other for a couple of years. And I was directing a commercial and I was like, you'd be perfect for it. Can you submit? And she was chosen and, she was our subject. And so then she thought of me, naturally because we just worked together. And then she's like, well, you're always posting about stuff. Like you're always something going on. And they needed somebody to play a younger version of one of the leads. And so there's a lot of like flashbacks and because it's kind of like a psychological horror thrillery kind of thing, there's flashbacks, but there's kind of like psychedelic things going on where you don't even know if it's real or not. So I'm in a lot of scenes like that. So I play basically the younger version of the mom of the lead character.
Okay.
And so I get to play like in the psychedelic version, I get to play like his mom, but I also in his flashbacks playing the mom to like him when he's like 4. So
Yeah.
it's like playing, along with the kids. And so basically there's 3 versions of him, like his current self, then his like teen and his younger version. So it was cool to just like kind of play with different aged kids. And I love kids in general. I have like a little sister. Well, she's a teenager, she's 17. But I basically like raised her when she was little until I
Yeah.
moved to LA. So I have this like fondness with kids. So that was really cool. And then the part I can say about the film is that there's, because it's a horror film, there's some jump scares.
Yeah.
So I kind of play a part in that, but I can't say what part.
Okay. That's fine. Well, thank you for discussing a little bit. As a filmmaker, not as an actor, just in that film, uh, what do you learn and take away that you can use later when you go back with one of your own films someday?
Oh goodness. Well, I think my purpose of going this time was an actress in it, but I didn't have the weight of the responsibility of, you know, setting everything up because, you know, Alexa and Daniel and Alex, the filmmakers, they had to like make sure that the screening is happening at this certain theater and we did
Yeah.
like a cocktail party and a red carpet before and it was like a lot of events. And I'm sure that was really stressful because you're getting to get all these things overseas. So you're planning them from LA and you get there and you don't know what it's actually going to be like.
Yeah.
And so that was very interesting to watch from afar. And I wanted to just kind of get a lay of the land. I didn't have any expectations at all. And things just happened to then, I guess, like opportunities just presented themselves, like whether it was events or parties that we got invited to. And I think the advice for other people going is like, don't get caught up in
Yeah.
like, I guess, like the glamour of it all. Like, it's really exciting. It's really amazing,
Yeah.
but it's happening for everybody, you know, not just for you. And I think what the takeaway that I'm going to have for next time is I'm going to start prepping like now, you know, like a year ahead, because there's just so many things that could go wrong. Or, you know, the sooner you book your stay, it'll be cheaper. The sooner you kind of like figure out who you want to meet, who might be going. So, because like once you get there, things go so quickly. The time passes so quickly that you're just not going to have time. You
Yeah.
just plan for needing more time than you think we will. And if, you know, just plan your meetings, plan everything. And I think for filmmakers, it makes sense to be a part of the market. So, you know, there's the film festival happening at the same time as the market, and they're kind of in the same place. And so if you're trying to distribution, like just network as much as you can within the market, even before you go, network with people who already went. You know, it's easy to find them online via
Yeah.
hashtags or, you know, so just be as prepared as you can be. Just don't expect that things are just going to happen once you get there. Be as prepared as you can. So even though like I knew I was going to have a stylist, I just you don't know what's going to happen. What if something falls through? So I brought my four dresses, you know, I brought
Yeah.
my four dresses. Like if something falls through, I
Yeah.
have my dresses. So just be as prepared as possible.
Good advice. Good advice. And you were gorgeous, by the way. I mean, I saw
Oh,
you on
thank you.
number of social posts about fashion and all that. I mean,
Thank you so much.
you were stunning on the red carpet. So I just
Oh,
wanted
it's
to
my
tell
stylist,
you,
Anthony. Shout out. He did
yeah,
amazing.
good job, Anthony. Um, now, like I've looked into your background, but it never makes sense for me to tell it. So can you just give your, I don't know, 20th floor elevator speech on your background and why you chose a creative lifestyle, that kind of thing?
Oh my gosh, I think it shows me. I mean, honestly, ever since I was
Yeah.
little, and I think everybody starts it like that, but the things that I wanted to be when I was like from when I remember myself from like 4 to, you know, 8, 9, was I wanted to be everything creative. Like, so a singer, a fashion designer, you know, an actress, a writer, a director. Like, I wanted to be all those things. And at the same time. So I think it was kind of just like put in me to be
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know, I always feel like everybody comes to this world with a dream that was already kind of like in them. And kids really express it really well if they're allowed to and if they're supported. And I had a grandma who really supported me in that. So she let me have my little fashion shows and, you know, she allowed me to like draw and put on my little plays with my friend. So she was really cool. And by the way, this was happening in like the 90s Russia, you know, like this
Okay.
like mid 90s Russia. And then I moved to the US in the early 2000s and North Carolina. So I started, you know, school there and I forgot a little bit about my dream. because now I had to learn English again. I mean, I was starting to learn it, but when you learn it in school, it's different than when you're actually speaking it to native speakers and with Southern accent.
Yeah.
So it was complete culture shock. So then in high school, I had a really amazing teacher who believed in me, and I started art. And she said, "Would you like to be a graphic designer?" So I ended up going to school for graphic design. I was really, really good at art. But then while I was in college, I also met people who were photographing, and I started modeling. And through that, people started putting me in their short films, their music videos, and I discovered or rediscovered the motion picture again, and I really
Yeah.
liked the moving image. So when I moved to LA, it just kind of like made sense. And the more people and I learned, and I kind of like soaked everything up as a sponge, and I went to all all networking events that I could find, read all the books, and I started writing, and then I started producing, and then I started directing because I think a director fell out of a project. So it just kind of like naturally progressed. So it
Yeah.
wasn't something I maybe set out to do when I moved to LA. But the more I remembered what my dream was when I was little and what I was actually doing when I was little and what I was enjoying, I was like, this is probably what I'm supposed to do. Why not allow myself to do that? So yeah, I've been doing mostly just filmmaking stuff for the last 10, 12 years, something like that.
Yeah.
It's
I like
been
it.
a roller
Filmmaking
coaster.
stuff.
I feel like it's so because it's so all encompassing. I'm not just one thing. Mostly an actress. That's what I have the most bandwidth for. I really, really love producing and writing and directing too.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. When you, it's not about the films themselves, but you can talk about them.
Hmm.
But when you started doing your own films, I'm not talking about your first short or anything. One of the things that you incorporated was the use of Indiegogo, right?
Hmm.
To fundraise. So I
Yes.
was wondering if we could talk about like that aspect of it, so we
Hmm.
could just tell other people what that experience was like. I
Hmm.
think you did what? Contenders of Last Will and Red
Hmm.
String of Fate. Is that right?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay. And I remember I saw an interview that on the negative side that Indiegogo, well, positive, it earns you 100% of whatever the money is, and then negative is they take 8% back
Hmm.
for doing that. So I wanted to ask you that whole experience. How did that work for you? And do you have any suggestions for other filmmakers who maybe don't have another way? And is it worth trying for them?
Hmm. Well, thank you for really researching me. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
It makes it easier to talk about specifics. So I love Indiegogo. I like it more than the other platforms because of what you said, because it lets you keep all the everything that you raise, even if you don't reach your goal. Because sometimes you want to make a really big stretch goal and yeah, you might not reach it, but it's because maybe somebody wanted to give you cash,
Yeah.
or somebody wrote you a big check. They didn't trust the website or whatever.
Yeah.
So what I did for Once in a Blue Moon when I was raising money for that, I reached out to basically the same people who were already donating to my other projects. And I said, hey, if you would really like to help on this project, if you just PayPal me or however you want to do Cash App, then whatever you want, all the money is going to go to the project.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get that 8% taken out. And so that's how I did it instead of going the Indiegogo route. But when I was starting out, I didn't have the audience. That was the best route because,
Yeah.
you know, some people, if they don't know you, they're going to be more trustful of doing it through a platform. But going forward, now that they know you, they trust you, they can just, if they want to help you, they can just help you. They don't have to go through a platform and get their 8% taken out. They understand. So that's my advice to people. If you're just starting out, do Indiegogo because there's also, there's lots of stuff like Kickstarter and and what's the other one? Seed and something seed. But that one
I don't
lets
remember.
you basically, well, I don't want to lie, and they might have changed their rules. But basically, like unless you raise the whole thing or 80% or something, you can't have your thing. It's just allow yourself to, get as much help and funding through different avenues. That
Yeah.
way you're not cornering yourself into if I don't reach everything through Kickstarter. Of course, if you have a big audience, that works. But if you don't yet, just give yourself avenues to be reached out from different places.
I have a card where I was wondering, and I watched a lot of your stuff, everything I could. I've read a bunch of
Thank
your
you.
stuff when I could. I'm a bad reader. I'm a writer. I've been a writer my whole life, and so for
Cool.
some reason you'd think I would read more, but I'm always writing. When I'm done writing, I don't want to read it. You know what I mean?
I know. I
Um,
listen to audiobooks.
yeah, I should do that more. And I buy them too, but yeah. So some of the things that you're working on that in the film stuff, you have shorts that you've worked on throughout your
Mhm.
career, and then you're working on features. And I
Mhm.
was wondering if we could just talk about shorts versus a feature. Like what do you consider a definition of a short?
Mhm.
And when you're like I get being in a feature, like you get called up to a huge film, and of course everything is going to be awesome. No matter what the difficulties along the way, the fact that you're making more money, you're in a bigger project, there's higher profile, that's all good things. But I was wondering if when you're doing these projects, you're going back and forth, are shorts in any way more freeing creatively because you can take it in any direction. It's not coming from a studio where you have to do it this way. And I just thought I'd ask,
Mhm.
like, does it help you
Mhm.
get some of your creative voice out there in different ways?
Yes and no. Well, it's such a complex answer I'm going to give you because every time I get a short and I read it, my question is, why is this not a feature? You're already funding the money, you're spending the time. Why not just make it a feature? Add a few more days and just make it a feature. Especially if it's a longer short, because a short is considered from, anywhere 1 minute, let's say, to I think 40, 45 or something minutes. It's still
Wow.
considered a short. And so if you're going to have a longer short, like 30 minutes, you might as well just add another
Yeah.
30 minutes, and just like make the scenes longer or something. But you already have the idea, might as well. You have the actors. But the good thing about shorts is that a lot of film festivals are Oscar qualifying only for shorts. So you have more opportunity to be seen or something that's Oscar qualifying, for example, at bigger festivals. For
Yeah.
example, CineQuest, I don't know if it changes year to year. I don't know if it's changed this year, but I know at least a couple of years ago it was qualifying for Oscar, but for shorts only. And so it just like depends on what you're going for. Are you going for awards? Are you going for recognition? Are you going for like I would just want people to see my work? Right now we have a short Lend a Friend that is making a festival round. We just premiered it last month, I think, and this month it's playing twice. It's playing in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, to the $1 Million Theater, and then in San Diego on June 29th. It's in the San Diego Film Awards.
Cool.
So that one's cool because it's actually going to be on PBS. They're going to show it on PBS, and I was nominated for the Best Actress. Our director Chance is nominated for Best Director, and my co-star Philip Botello, he's nominated for Best Actor. So we have, hopefully we'll get all of them, but
Yeah.
we have some chances to get some best category stuff there. But yeah, when you have a short, and it has to be pretty short. Like a lot of festivals will not consider it if it's a little too long because they're trying to schedule as many shorts as they can. So I think the median like best thing is like 7 or something, 7 to 8 minutes. Then they can schedule so many more, within a block.
Yeah.
So if it's a little longer, 15 or 20 minutes, sometimes they don't consider it. So that's the only thing. But I don't know if I answered the question or not. So it's like it's dual,
Yeah.
whether it's freeing, I think it's the same. I mean, I treat every project like I put all of my research and like my heart into it, whether it was this little short, and by little I just mean like it was shorter than a
Yeah.
feature.
Yeah.
And because that part was demanding, I played an android. So there was a lot of research and preparation to like how she spoke, how she moved, what the outfit is going to be like. That's the one with the purple eyes,
Yeah.
you know? And the feature that I just finished, 5150, that one was a psychological thriller. So that was a lot of preparation for like what kind of mental disorder does she have? Like how does she act toward this people and how does she act towards the other people and what is the situation? So everything was a kind of a big deal. So just I don't know. It's either way, you have to prepare for the role. So that's why I'm saying if you're gonna make a short that's very involved, just make a feature.
Good answer. It was a tough question, to be honest, comparing features to shorts. Um, and we can skip the next one, 5150. So thank you for, well, you don't have to read it, but um, Adrian directed it.
Hmm.
It just looked like you had some good, deep emotional topic. So thanks for addressing, that it took time to work on it and
Oh
to
yeah.
find your place.
Yeah. And it kind of stays with you because your body doesn't know a difference between it being real and not real emotion. And there was a really funny, well, not funny, but like an interesting instance where we ended up using a dog in the scenes because our DP, Jonathan, he was studying a dog, like his sister's dog, and we
Yeah.
bonded with a dog. And I was like, can he be in the movie? And so he ended up being in a lot of scenes. And I had this scene where I'm freaking out. I'm crying. I'm having not a good time. And the dog was downstairs in its crate, like locked up. The dog heard me. He
Yeah.
got out of his crate. And by the
Wow.
end of the scene, they're filming it. The dog is comforting me. The dog ran
Oh,
in the room and he's comforting me because he also can't tell if it's real or not. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's the thing about acting. Like if we're feeling it, like people around us are going to feel it too, which is how it's coming across, you know, to the screen. But your body, like I had to get a lot of sleep and massages almost after every shoot day because I had to get it out of my system.
Yeah.
Because if it was, I guess, like if when it was adding up, like all the days, like it was hard to tell what was real, what was not.
Makes
It was
sense. That means you're
interesting.
doing a good job. You know what I mean? You're
I
researching
hope
it so
so,
much that
but
you're in
thank
that
you.
other world, you know? Yeah, 5150 was fun. I mean, what I saw of it, it was I mean, it's not a fun topic, but I mean, you were good in it. And it
Oh,
was it
thank you.
was it was good to watch.
Thank
Let
you.
me ask you, how do you make your money back on a short?
On a short, you basically never do.
Okay.
Because to get your money back, you would have to get distribution, and it's hard to get distribution for short. It's not impossible. You could, there are avenues that are like you can sell it to an airline. They have like if you notice when you're watching, like on American Airlines or whatever, there's a category for shorts, and they get it from somewhere, but it's probably you have to be like again at a bigger festival, winning some awards for them to even consider. to put it
Yeah.
on their roster of things. But pretty much no. That's why I say just make a
Okay.
feature, it'll be easier to sell.
Makes sense. Just wanted to ask. A lot of people don't know, so that's why I'm asking for people who may not know all the things that you do. Okay, so I told you that I'm a writer. You're, I don't know, multi-talented as a writer. You're doing scripts that are feature length or shorts, but you're also writing books. So I was wondering if you could tell me how different the mindset is for you as a writer when you're going into those projects.
Oh, very different. I think scripts are easier because to me it's a lot of it is dialogue, or especially what I write. Not
Yeah,
not obviously every script has a lot of dialogue, but I love dialogue and scripts because I like listening to like people banter, and
Mhm.
some quotable quotes are awesome. Like I use quotable quotes all the time, and like watching The Last of Us right now, and I'm quoting The Last of Us. Like that's so funny. Um, but it is different. And I like writing books because I have a topic, and especially when it's like a self-help book, I've written, oh, two, three that are self-help, so I can just like get the topic out into the world.
Yeah,
The Contenders of Last Will was originally a script. That was taken from a pilot script that I made into a book. It's kind of like lock in my IP, but also just have it in a different format for people to read. Because when it's a pilot, it's just in your drawer until it gets filmed. But I was like, well, whether it gets filmed or not,
yeah,
somebody can read it and maybe want to plus produce or whatever. So it was just reformatting it. And I forgot what the question was now.
just your mindset, writing a book versus writing a script.
hmm The mindset, I would say, yeah, it's easier to write a script for me because the way I write is I usually have my notes app on my phone, and just
Yeah,
throughout the day or days or months, I'll just jot down ideas, and then I just sit down one day and I flesh it all out. And books are books are kind of like they're a little harder. Even though it's one topic, it's kind of like it almost feels like you're birthing this idea into the world, and you feel like it's going to be out there faster, so it's going to be scrutinized more
yeah,
in a way, because a script, even when you're filming it, people don't read it word for word. They're just kind of like, what's my job? I'm only going to take these things, never mind the directions. Or they're only going to read what is the wardrobe or what is the prop. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I feel like you can be freer with scripts. Sorry for being so long-winded, but
No, no, that's why I asked the question. You know what
it's an
I mean?
interesting question. That's not one I've maybe even thought about, but yeah, I stand by what I just said.
Well, hopefully we have a few more questions here for you that you haven't thought of. So I want to ask you about directing. How did you first decide to direct, and what did you learn going from your first directing experience that you carried through and said, well, let me tweak it to my second, your second, I mean.
Mhm. Well, I wasn't considering directing at all. Like I was, acting, writing, producing things that I've written. And when I was interviewing for Contenders of the Last Will director, there was this woman that I interviewed, and I I was telling her we already found locations, we already have the actors, this is what they're going to be wearing, this is how we're going to basically do it. And she's like, why are you not directing this? And I was like, me? What do you mean? That's your job. And
Yeah.
she was like, you already decided all the things that the, the director is hired to do. Like, And I was like, really? I don't know. I didn't really believe her at that time. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. So we did have a director on that project. But then the next one, I filmed Red String of Fate, and I filmed it back in Kazan, Russia, which was my hometown. And I think we had a director scheduled, and last minute they like something happened, and I basically had to step in and do it.
And you're like,
And well, I was like, I wasn't like this. I was more like, well, nobody else can do it. Nobody knows what I've prepped. So
yeah,
I ended up directing that one, and I'm acting it, and producing. So I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. But it was actually a lot easier than I thought. But also, when you're directing, especially yourself, you have to have a really good DP and a really good AD. So you have to have that support, that structure, that DP is going to, you know what they're doing and what shots they want to do if you don't have an idea or a good idea. Um, and and also if you're not strong in some parts, because not every director is good at everything, right? Some are more technical, some are more like, no, I just want to direct the actors, you take care of the rest. So for me, even though I've taken photography classes, I wasn't taught in like for directing and camera and lighting. So I always rely on my DP. That's what they went to school for, that's what they've been doing for a while. They
yeah,
should get the credit for that. So yeah, relying on the DP is great. And then also if you have a really good AD who runs a set and keeps you on schedule, then you're golden. Then you can do what you need to do as a director, as an actor. So going from that first one where I was figuring it out, but it worked out, to technically, I don't know if the second one was Karmic Connection, which was the sequel. It might have been. It might have been. So Red String of Fate was the first one. Karmic Connection was the second one. Twin Flames was the third one. It was like a series
right. I
that I
watched them.
filmed. You did?
Yeah. Well,
Oh my
uh, well, that's my job
God.
if I'm going to
Wow.
interview you. Uh,
Wow.
oh, sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
so
What did I hit?
impressed.
Here, let me see where. We're talking about contenders, right? No,
That one
no,
is
no, not
Red String of
contenders.
Fate. Yeah, it's like a little trilogy. It was
Oh
Red
yeah,
String of
Red String of
Fate,
Fate.
Karmic
Yeah,
Connection.
love
Um,
story.
mhm,
And is it right that you hadn't seen each other for a while?
mhm.
The characters,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, it's
yeah.
my last day. I got to leave in a few
Mhm.
hours, and then yeah. I mean, I watched them,
Oh
all of
my
them.
God,
Yeah.
I'm so impressed. Thank you. I appreciate that. Some people I know haven't even seen much
That's the
stuff.
basic level for me. Yeah, like whoever interviews you should
Wow.
do that, you know? So
Wow. I'm very impressed.
thanks. Um, well, so I think you answered it as far as directing. And let me ask you a follow-up question. How confident do you feel as a director now that you've been through it a few times?
Feel even more confident now that I've not been directing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for the next one, I'll be really prepared. So when I started directing, I wasn't working as much. And now that I'm working a lot more, I get to watch the directors and better directors each time. Or I get to be collaborative on a project and I get to help a director, like, what if this shot is even better? Like
Yeah.
so on 5150, I got to direct this one scene where we shot it at a restaurant called, I think, Basil Thai in Orange County. And we used some of the people who worked there,
Oh,
and they've never acted before. And I was like, can I just help? Because I know that
yeah.
they don't know what they're doing. So, for example, do you know what a mark is? Have you been on a set where you know what a
I
mark is,
haven't been
right?
on set, but I've Well, actually, it's not true. I have been, but not for me, or many times I shouldn't have been there. But yes,
But a mark is basically a place where you're walking in the sea and you have to stop there. And
right.
sometimes you're not looking down, you kind of have to like feel it out, right? You have to kind of remember your surroundings. You're walking in and you kind of have to stop at a certain point so that the camera still has you in focus. And so one of the girls, she kept missing the mark. And I'm like, I totally understand why. You've never done this before. And I was like, what if I put a chair here? So when your knees hit the chair, you know where to stop.
Yep.
So it was just like figuring out like how to explain it to somebody who's never done it. And I don't blame them for not knowing because
Yeah.
you just don't know what you don't know. I wouldn't know either when I first started. So it was like just helping them. And there's another thing where you kind of have to like slow down for camera. You can't just like rush through. So, I was telling her like, okay, so you walk in, your knees hit this chair, so you stop, and then you're talking, you say your line, you maybe wait a beat, say your line, wait another little beat before you walk out. So we're not losing your line.
Yeah.
So that was so exciting for me because the next time I can take this experience into whatever I'm directing, whether it's a feature, whether it's a commercial. Sometimes you end up, you're going to have people who've never been on set. And even on Once in a Blue Moon, we had some people who've never acted before, or children. We had children on set. So I had to kind of like coach them a little bit. And everybody has a different way of understanding things. And it's kind of like you have to speak their language. So it's kind of figuring out how to get the information to them. Yeah, of course it
Yeah.
makes sense to you, but how do you explain it to a 5-year-old? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, it also, some of those sets that you've been on, you know, maybe you're learning, like you said, the shot or the angle or whatever, but you're also learning how to treat people and
Mhm,
how to be a manager of a big group of creative people. So
mhm,
when you're when you have that opportunity where you have children, you're already treating people a certain way, and so that
mhm.
helps. I don't know why I'm saying that, but okay. So
No, you're right.
acting, your acting process. Do you have a certain acting process that you developed or worked with early in your career and you still have it? And then you touched on this, so maybe there's not much more to it, but how is it different when you're acting versus acting and directing?
Mhm. Oh, do I have a process? Well, I think my process is like reading the material the more times than I can. Talking to director, of course, figuring out like where was your head when you were writing this? What is your favorite scene? Um, what do you want from me? You
Yeah,
know, because to me, it's like I want to deliver what the intent was. You know, so I always respect the writer, director, uh, whether it's a duo or one person, but I respect their mind and their creation, and I want to start there. Because
yeah,
if I start and I never even consider what their thing was, then yeah, maybe they think it's great, but also I don't want them feeling like it's not what I intended to shoot. You know what I mean? So
hmm
I always like to be very involved with the directors and have multiple conversations and make sure that we're starting on the right foot, from the same ground. And then I can go and play because sometimes they don't have any idea. Sometimes they're like, no, just I need, I want you to create a character. It's fine. But every character is different. And yeah, actors are, paid to create a character, but I want to see where it came from. Did it come from somebody in your life? Did it come from, your inspiration that you grew up with? like, does it have any gravity here? So
Yeah.
it's like my first step. And yeah, just reciting many times, making sure that I'm off book is very important. And just kind of playing with it after I know all those things, then I can just play with it, see what my wardrobe is going to be like, because then you're all of a sudden very different when you're wearing a certain wardrobe. And seeing if you're going to do an accent, and just all those little things that build this new person that you're going to be. Um, so that's as far as.
Yeah.
And then the difference between just acting and acting directing, I feel like you have more freedom when you're just acting because you're not worried about any other person's job. You're just worried, when is lunch? Where's Crafty? You know what I mean? When can I take off my shoes to wear my Uggs? So you're just like you're very self-involved, but you're there to do a job. And then when you're acting, directing, you're doing a job for yourself and you're responsible for so many more people. And I know my co-star always says, like, you have to turn off your director brain when you're on camera, but also I can't because if I'm also directing myself,
Yeah.
you know. But one thing I always try to do, whether I'm directing or not, I like to watch my takes. So if I'm able to see a take after they took a take before they take another one, I like to do that because then I can see, like, do I need to turn out to the camera a little bit more? Am I hitting the light? Is somebody covering my light so that I know a little bit? I have like more awareness, which is like kind of like a director brain. My producer and director brain is it's hard to turn on when I'm on any set. I try
Sure.
to turn it off when I'm just acting, but yeah, it's more freeing when you're just acting. And sometimes I'll go to set and my objective is I will not try to direct anybody because it's not my set. And it's not that I'm directing anybody, but I'll think like, oh, that prop wasn't there before, or this needs to reset. And I'm like, turned off, turn off, turn off, turn this off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just focus on what I'm doing. But that's the exercise sometimes to go to set and just do my acting and leave.
That's good. Once in a blue moon. Let's talk about that. Where is that at right now? And what are your plans for kind of getting that to wherever you want it to be?
hmm So that one's in post-production, and we're on like one or two edits away from locking it in. And I'm saying one or two edits is because every time, some time passes and I grow and I see something different and I'm like, this can be shorter. Like this scene is shorter. And every time I go and watch, just films on the big screen,
Yeah.
whether it's a budget film or a very low budget indie, I learn something and then I can take it to my edit. Like that thing worked, or this is why it didn't work. So then, but I know eventually we'll get into a locked edit, and everything that I've put out there so far, I'm really proud of. Maybe it's not as high budgeted as it could be if I did it now, but this is what I could do with what I had at the time. And to me, it's perfect the way it turned out. So I know we're gonna get there, and then we already have the music composed, and then we're gonna get to coloring, and we just gotta have the audio post done, and should be good to go. And as far as where I would like it to go, would love it to live on a platform where it can reach the most people it can, whether it's a free platform or not. So it could be like, you know, Pluto or something, or
Yeah.
it can be Netflix or Apple TV Plus. And I would love for it to go to some bigger festivals. I would love it to go to Cannes. We'll
Yeah.
see. It just depends on what they look for each year. But it doesn't have to be in competition. It'd be great for it to be just showing. But my thing is to always just do it the best quality you can when you can do it. Next
Yeah.
one's going to be even bigger, but this one we already shot, and that was 2 years ago.
Cool.
Hopefully, everything will be good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just come up with questions throughout. So I
Yeah.
was just wondering, do you have like a favorite and a second favorite genre of movies in general, not acting, not directing, just ones that you like, and then put on those hats like we'll just say acting. Are there types of films you would kind of prefer just today, not forever?
To watch or to
To
watch and to act
watch
in.
and then to act in.
Mhm. So, two of my favorite genres to watch are romantic comedy, dramedy,
Okay.
and like straight up action. And if they go together sometimes, some like action romantic comedy, that's even better.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like, well, newer stuff like Back in Action with Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx was really fun because it's action, but it's also like they're a couple. Or Mr. and Mrs. Smith, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Mm. My very favorite film, though, it's a French film called Love Me If You Dare with Marion Cotillard. It's from
Oh,
2003 or 4, I believe. And that one, it's a romantic drama, but it has some funny elements because it's kind of like a fantasy and has to do with child's play. So I just think it's a perfect movie. It's just so whimsical and you don't know where it's going to end up, but they kind of tell you where it's going to end up. You just don't believe it's going to end up there. So, yeah, that one's cool because it has romance and it has some action. So, a little bit of everything. And for acting, well, stuff that I act in a lot are thrillers, psychological thrillers. The Remedy was actually the first horror film I think I've done in a while. And I do a lot of, I guess, romantic drama, and I would love to do more action. My dream role would be like Lara Croft or something like that.
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Also like sci-fi and fantasy though. It'd be cool to be. Well, I guess they are making a series of Harry Potter.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I love
heard
stuff like
that.
that. I love Harry Potter. I love stuff like that.
Well, pretty open to anything, right? I'll have to
Yeah.
check out that movie, the French movie, because I love
Oh,
Mary
let
Poppins.
me know how it is for you because I don't know if they're still together. I think they are. That's her boyfriend. But
Oh, really?
like, well, they've known each other beforehand, and they weren't girlfriend boyfriend on that set. I think they only got together like 3 years after that. But they have such a fun chemistry because they're not supposed to be like super lovey-dovey at first.
Yeah,
And yeah, I just like, wow, I was like, and you guys got together. How cool.
yeah. So we're at an hour. Do you have a few more minutes? Keep
Hmm.
going?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Red String of Fate we talked about. I was wondering if you wanted to kind of look back at that and just give us your thoughts, us, me, myself, and I. Just give me your thoughts on like as you look back at it, how do you see it? As far as the experience and the quality and performance, all that kind of stuff. Like what does it mean to you?
Well, that one holds a very special place in my heart. So it was kind of like a love letter to my city anyway,
Yeah.
because I kind of talked about myself when I said, well, I moved when I was a child, and here I was on my last day college or whatever I was doing over there, studying abroad. And that did happen to me. I went to study abroad in my hometown.
Yeah.
It had a little bit of reality. And it was so interesting. So I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Red String of Fate. It's there's a
No.
Chinese story that basically you're going to marry the person that you're tied to by a red string of fate.
Hmm.
And this little girl and little boy, they were, I think, neighbors. And I don't know, she said something to him, or you know how little boys and little girls are. And he threw a
Yeah.
rock at her, and she got this scar. And she was, 4 years old or something. And then the same little boy went on, to live his life, moved away, and he, I think, got into an arranged marriage, and they're having a wedding, and he, takes off the veil, and he sees that she
Whoa.
has a scar, and he said, "Where did you get that scar?" And she said, "Oh, this little boy threw a rock at me when that's
Wow.
never." And so it was really interesting to learn that story, and weird things were happening when we were filming it. For one, I don't know if I've ever said this on an interview, but so I had to fly from wherever it was, LA or North Carolina at the time, to Kazan, and I was going through Moscow. So I was in the Moscow airport changing flights, and I was rushing to get to the plane, and I ran into a glass door
Oh.
and didn't get in the flight. I got a scar
Uh,
right before shooting that film.
Oh, geez.
So when I was shooting it, I had a wound on, on my left brow. And I was like, what are the chances? That's what the story said. And this is exactly what happened. And then also like 2 days prior to shooting, and the story, like the first scene, not a secret, is that these two, people that used to go to school together, they see each other in a club, and he runs after her, and she doesn't recognize him, but he recognizes her. So a couple of days prior, I was at a restaurant, like having lunch with my girlfriend, and these two guys come up, and they turn to my girlfriend, and they're like, "Do you recognize us?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she says their names, and up until she said their names, and even like 5 seconds after, I thought, these are just some random guys. Like, what are they doing talking to us? Just probably, trying to meet us, because in Russia, people do that all the time. Like, guys come up to ladies, anywhere. Give me your number. So I'm just like sitting like this, and she says their names, and I'm like, oh, these are our classmates that I haven't seen. Yeah, probably was like or more years.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of them ended up helping us on the shoot. Like he drove us around. He was actually in that club scene, like just doing some background. So like he helped us a lot. And if we wouldn't have, met that time, like he was a big help. I think he even just did the slate. He was like fully involved in the production. He was like super excited. So I was so thankful that we reconnected. But yeah, I was like, what are the chances? Like how weird that that's going to happen right before that's exactly about saying just
Yeah.
re-meeting somebody, running into somebody. So
Wow. That's an interesting story. And you're all good now, right? Yeah.
all good now. But at the time, I had to get stitches and everything. It was not fun. First
So,
stitches, my first wound.
what kind of cast did you have for a film like that? I mean, sorry, crew.
Um,
Crew. I know
mhm.
that.
We had a skeleton crew, but we had a DP. Did we have a gaffer? I think we had a gaffer. I know we had a sound person, and they were very, very competent. One of them even works in Moscow, so it's like very good equipment. And then a couple of my friends helped out. Like I said, one of them helped out, and then another one, she ran the set, so she was my AD. And other people just, came and helped whatever needed. But it was very skeleton crew. And we didn't really need that much because
Yeah.
we were shooting outside, so we didn't really, well, most of the time we were shooting outside, so we didn't really need anything but a camera and sound. And then when we shot at a club, it was already such pretty lighting. I don't think we needed much, to mess with it either. So we just worked with what we had. But the locations were so good, the locations were so good that everything shot from locations. You get the good locations with just a good backdrop. It like adds so much quality and to your film that that's all you really need.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. Nice
Thank you.
backdrop, and I was assuming that this is probably where she grew up. I'm like, it just makes sense that you were shooting something somewhere there. You know what I mean? It just had a feeling that maybe you were going back and doing something.
Mm.
Talk about contenders of The Last Will. First it was film, then book, right?
We shot a trailer for it.
Right. I mean, that's why I meant the trailer. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, we shot a trailer for it. It was very high quality. I'm very happy with it. And we pitched around town, and it was around the same time that like Pretty Little Liars were finishing and Vampire Diaries were finishing, and it was kind of a sister show. It'd be
Yeah.
a good fit. But at the time, because I didn't have an AP locked in, and both of the ones that I just named, they're all based on books. Most young adult TV shows you watch are based on books. They just didn't really consider us. And now you'll see it more like after, Stranger Things came up. So that was, a new IP. And Outer Banks came up. That was a new IP. So I think now we would have a better chance. But at the time, they just weren't like, oh, well, do you have your IP locked in? Maybe they were just afraid that we didn't have IP locked in. So that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to write it into a book. So then it's like, okay, well, it is a book. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd still love for it to go. And uh, one of the things that inspired me to write it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they're doing a reboot of a new show with Sarah Michelle Gellar. So who knows? Maybe this is going to be the time, the perfect
Yeah.
timing.
Now, when you like that inspired you, and I saw that on your social media, I was just scrolling and I saw
Hmm.
you had a Buffy photo shoot, right?
Hmm.
Inspired by. Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you do
Yeah.
that like every so often? Like,
I don't. I should do it more. I think it's like really fun. I had one. It was all about the outfits, right? Like outfits Buffy wore. So I just got inspired because I got these red pants and they look totally like something Buffy would wear. It's like I should do something like this. So I did it, and then I ended up going to the Hell Mouth convention last year, which it's about to be here again. On the 13th and 14th or 14th and 15th of June in Torrance. They hold it exactly where it was filmed, like where the high school was filmed. So I went the one last year, and that was the first one they had at that location. They've had it before, but that was the location where the high school stuff was filmed. And I was like, oh, I'll just dress up. And people thought that I was a professional cosplayer for Buffy. And I was like, no, it's just the pants. So this time I'll dress up in other things and see how it goes. But yeah, it's just fun. I really like the community is so good. I
yeah.
follow a few pages, like Facebook pages online from people who are just so kind and so nice. And they just realize like we all kind of came up watching this and we all related to it. And it's actually, ironically, it's cited as an inspiration for so many writers and directors. Like I meet so many writers and directors who say, this inspired me to be a writer, the show. So yeah, it basically raised a generation of slayers.
You're doing all these things that a lot of them are yours, okay? Whether
Hmm.
you're producing, you're acting and everything, but you're producing, writing, directing. And I was wondering if you could talk about the value of putting together your good, close-knit creative community so that when you're creating a short or a feature or whatever you're doing, or trailer, that you can draw upon people from all of these specialties, directing and wardrobe and whatnot. So could you talk
Yeah.
about that in relation to your world?
Yeah. Well, now that I've been doing it for a little bit longer, when you first start out, you kind of have to hire whoever, you know, appears. Sometimes you don't know any DPs, so you're forced to hire a DP that you might not even work very
Yeah,
well. Mm. So now that I know a lot more people and I work with them and I know what our relationship is work-wise, it is so much easier. And I do believe in like build it before you need it. If you have a good network and community and you already have a good working relationship with somebody on another project, like you can just pull them, afterwards and be like, hey, I also have something going on. If you're available, sometimes they're not available. Sometimes people are really busy.
yeah,
But but that's good, that's why it's good to have several different people kind of like in line because you don't know what you're going to be doing next. You can plan like I'll be doing an action film, but actually we're going to be doing a thriller next or this period piece. So who's actually going to be best at it? And maybe it's someone's specialty. Maybe people already have been collecting wardrobe for this type of thing for many years and you're
yeah,
just able to use it. So you just don't know. Um, I just feel like, especially in an indie world, it's hard to know what your next project is going to be. You're planning it's going to be this one. Like I didn't expect Once in a Blue Moon to be my first feature. I thought it was going to be something else named Lana, which is an action film, and it's so far in the back burner that
yeah.
I would love to film it soon, but now it's going to be something else that's coming next. So it's just you just never know. So so like you said, it's good to have people that several people in mm, different careers, the career paths. And I really like collaborating with people who do many different things. So they're not just a DP or, just an actor, but people who are multifaceted because then we can definitely use them on a project. Maybe I can't use you as a grip, but I can use it as an actor or
Yeah.
or vice versa. So just and
Yeah.
for your listeners, I just wanted to put it out there. Right now, I'm looking for scripts to read that I could produce and act in. So if you have something that's more like reads like an Oscar qualifying feature or a Cannes qualifying feature, or it reads like a high budget action, but we can make it for a lower indie budget. Let's do it. Send me an email. And my email is info.valeriasweet@gmail.com. You can, I'm okay with having that email out there.
Send those scripts in. There we go.
Yes. And you
Um,
too, if you have a script.
yeah, I just started writing something the other day.
Cool.
I don't know what direction I'll go in. I don't know. I'll talk to you offline about it. But it's
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of fun. Like one of my interviews like got me the idea.
Hmm.
So my last interview was with Diane Franklin, who was big 80s actress, Bill and
Hmm.
Ted's, and Better Off Dead and Last American Virgin. She broke
Mm,
her boyfriend's heart. So
mm,
she said something in that, and I was like, oh, I could write that. So I
mm.
just started writing a few things.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I will keep that in mind since I am a writer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just ask you a few more questions. I'm down to two cards, but I keep coming up
Love
with
it.
new questions. Before we get to the cards, editing. That's not one of the titles that I gave you, but with you being so involved, you're sitting next to the editor quite a bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the bottle. I'm the bottleneck of my projects. If I could just give it, um, but because I've lived for so long with the project, I know wanted, and I have a specific, I guess, gaze that I have about how I want it to be, either like make it an awkward beat or, and sometimes you say like, oh, just leave a couple beats here, but to the person like editing it, it can mean 2 seconds or it can mean something else.
Yeah.
So, I usually give notes and then afterwards, after it's kind of done, we kind of like go through and just make it more what just like work on the finite things, you know,
Yeah.
because they can be so little difference makes a big difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But
I've edited ads, print ads
mhm,
over the years and commercials, not as the editor, but
mhm,
as the guy who sits down and says, okay, wait till he turns left and has one step, and then you cut that, and then you go to this. Or if it was a print ad, like a poster or
mhm,
whatever, put a swoosh at the bottom with the American flag. So I get
mhm.
exactly what you're talking about. Like, and I'm like, don't send it to me because whatever you do, it won't be ready. Wait till I come sit next to you. So I get that. Sometimes you just want to do it, but you have five other hats you're wearing and you're like, can't do it.
Yeah. But also I wouldn't say that I'm an editor. Like I don't say that that's one of my niches. I would rather
Me
somebody
either.
who's
Yeah.
more, more of an editor, director doing it so that because then I know that, they have an eye for it. They're really looking out for me.
Makes sense. Well, if you ever need a free actor and I can do the job, I'm in. Also, if
Yeah,
you're
I was
ever
gonna
in
tell you, you look like Daniel Craig. Do you get that a lot?
No, are you kidding me?
Yes, I kept thinking he's the Bond guy.
You're the second person to say that.
You really? So you have been told that
Somebody's
before?
on this podcast. Yeah, somebody said that, and I said
Yeah, you
no.
told.
I
Yeah, yeah.
I said maybe his brother who trips into him, and they're like, no, you.
No, you look just like him.
Oh, that's funny. Well, thank you. I'll take that. My two oldest I have three boys. My two oldest went to school for filmmaking and videography
Mm.
in Chicago at Columbia College.
Uh-huh.
So they shoot a lot of music festivals. They shoot bands like Lollapalooza. They'll
Mm.
shoot a different band every
Mm.
day.
Wow.
So, and they live on Michigan Avenue, like right downtown Chicago on the suburbs. So if you ever want to do something in Chicago, something tiny, you have a crew, you have
Oh, that's awesome.
a,
Thank you.
one cast member, and
Would love
yeah,
to. That's
and,
great.
yeah, and they have a bunch of friends who do all that too. They're they're real editors, they're master editors too.
That's
So
great. So homework for you. Write something in Chicago and let's do it.
yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, maybe
You
if
already
I'm
have the
sending you something.
location.
There you go. You're right. I didn't even think of that. Okay, we'll get to these last two cards. So driving and precision driver is on your
Hmm.
resume. Okay, well,
Hmm.
really just precision driver. For
Hmm.
I recently Karate Kid Legends. Is it Accountant 2, right? Beverly Hills Cop. I said four, but I know it's Axel Foley. And Wolves, just to name a few. Can you tell people what a precision driver is and how'd you ever go down that road to you doing that?
Well, I love driving. Um, So I've been driving with a team for the last 5 years, and before that, I would drive on sets in general. And so basically, you're working with a stunt team, but you're not the stunt person, at least for TV. There's a different, like a different definition for the film and TV part, and then there's a different one for commercials. So I only do TV and film. So we work with the stunt players and say, this is the road, right? And we have somebody doing a stunt and say they're going to like swerve into the lanes, right? So sometimes they'll have stunt cars around him, but sometimes they'll just have us, the precision drivers, and we'll kind of like watch out for him. And we just
Yeah.
like, sometimes you have to stop short and you have to like go around something. Um, so it's kind of like not as dangerous, but still it is dangerous because
Yeah.
sometimes we go in live traffic and we'll have cops like leading us and behind us. Sometimes the cops have to go around so that they can like cut off the traffic from side streets so that they don't interfere with what we're doing. But the people behind us don't know what we're doing. They don't know why
Oh,
we're going really slow or why we have blinkers on. Sometimes we look like a funeral procession because we have blinkers on,
yeah.
But yeah, you just kind of like watching out, and we call them bogeys. Watch out for bogeys. That's the people who are not in our procession doing
Yeah.
the stunt. So, so yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, that's a dream job in itself, honestly. I love my team. Um, we drive with Mark Geschwind. That's who our team lead driver is. So yeah, I love everybody on the team. Everyone's just like so genuine, so like close knit. And yeah, if I wasn't just doing acting, I would just be doing that and be happy, honestly.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's just a whole nother form of movie stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I like that. I'm going to use that. Last card, dream projects. What would you do if you could do anything? And then, like, if you could direct something anywhere, where would that be?
Oh gosh. Um, if I could direct anything anywhere, I would love to direct something in London or in Prague. They're my two favorite cities besides the city of Kazan where I was born. I can't go right now, It's a complicated situation over there. And I've already shot there, but I would love to shoot in London. I would love to shoot in Prague. It- I love the architecture there. Even if I could just shoot outside, I would be so happy. Um, Dream projects. I would love to play Lara Croft. I would totally go brunette for it again. There is a book series called Chronicles of Amber, and it's my favorite book ever since I was little. I loved it. It's by Robert Zelazny. Right now, it's in the development hell, as I hear it. So I don't know if they'll ever give up the rights and somebody else can produce it, or maybe I can get on the team and produce it with them. But that would be a dream project. And I don't even know
Cool.
who I would play because the main roles are actually guys, but I don't know. I just love that project so much. And I think, just something Oscar qualifying, can qualifying, just keep going, just keep making stuff. Eventually you'll win an Oscar, and I would love to do that. So
Well, good
that's
luck.
me.
This is a wooden
Thank you.
desk, so knock on
Thank
wood.
you.
Yeah, and other than that, just thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. What time is it? Hour and a half. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. No, I really enjoyed talking to you. Great
Yeah.
questions. And I really
Thanks.
appreciate you actually like researching me and watching all this stuff. I really do appreciate
Sure. Well, that's the fun part. I mean, it's no
it.
fun just asking you questions if I don't know anything about you.
True,
So
true.
I enjoyed watching everything I could and reading more about
Thank
you.
you.
And I watch some of your other interviews and then I know, okay, I'm not going to ask that stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, like what?
Um, I just try to not make you repeat things. That's all.
Mm.
It
Yeah, those
wasn't
are
anything
really good
bad.
questions. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
really good questions you already asked. Yeah.
Well, thank you. So,
Thank you.
got to have a good subject to have good questions. So, okay. Well, I will stay in touch. And again, thank you. And you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much. You too.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Bye.